When I was a kid building scale models some 3/4 of a century ago, the models were made of wood. They could be solid wood, sheet wood, or stick and tissue. I've made videos describing the first two options, so this video is an attempt to cover the stick and tissue construction method for building scale models. I expect the only reason one would go to the effort of building using the stick and tissue method, which is highly labor intensive, is because they wanted the end result to fly. A model built only to fly using stick and tissue construction would result in a light, boxy shaped aircraft with features that made it stable in flight, like double dihedral rings and long fuselages. A very large propeller would be used to make a rubber band motor more efficient, and long springy landing gear would increase the survival rate. If you wanted a scale model of an existing aircraft, the construction was more complex and the flight performance suffered. But we wanted it to look like a real airplane, right? Many companies made stick and tissue kits. Some of them had histories that dated well before World War II. Some still survive. Kits ranged in size from simple designs to large multi-engine subjects. Basically, stick and tissue is a form made up of thin wood strips and sheet wood forms. Here's the thin wood strips, and these are half forms here. This is the base upon which you'd build them. You'd construct the wood right on the plan, right over the black marks. The kit usually contained the plans, as we see here, sheet wood to be cut out, and the thin wood strips. There would be other parts to be carved, for instance, for the fuselage or the propeller, or other details that could become in even vacuum form plastic, like these here. There are basically two ways this can be constructed. One might be called the stick box method. Sides would be constructed out of just sticks. Then they would be formed around other sticks and a former to produce a boxy fuselage. Since the stick box method only works for airplanes with a rectangular cross-section fuselage, a more complex method for streamline shaped aircraft might be called the central spine method. A central spine down the middle of the fuselage is constructed over the plans. Formers are added at the right location to form half the fuselage. These formers are connected with sticks. The part is flipped over and the opposite side is built in the same manner to form a completed fuselage. Here's a visual review of this process. Wing and tail surfaces are generally constructed in this manner. Leading edge and trailing edge and tips are placed down over the plans. Chordwise formers are placed across these, and then spars are added to add strength to the construction. The details are either covered and assembled, or assembled and then covered. Then any additional details are added and the airplane is complete. Tissue is used for the covering because it is light and can be water shrunk to better accommodate complex shapes and provide a tight fit to the structure. There were a lot of stick and tissue model providers. Some dated from well before World War II, some from the time of the Wright brothers. A few remain still active. Their offerings range from tiny and cheap to big and complex and even gas-powered. Those were out of my range and therefore my experience. I'll cover the few here based upon my experience and what little I have to show. Cleveland Model and Supply was a very prolific producer of these kits and did so over a very long period. They ceased production but continued to sell their plans by mail order. That's how I got these plans of Aluscum. Comet was another prolific producer of stick and tissue kits. Here's their Newport World War I fighter. Here's an Aranca float plane. I wonder if you'd really fly it over water and how it would fare when it landed. Gwillows is probably the third of the big three early producers of stick and tissue models. They remain active today. BF-109 came in for major skin repair 20 years ago, and it's still awaiting service. Gwillows made a lot of kits this size. This P-51 seen earlier is typical of the larger fighter designs. Here are the plans for a currently in production Stearman, large enough to be converted to U-control or radio control gas-powered flight. Here's one page of the plans for a Piper Super Cub kit by Sterling. This is also a Sterling kit. There were a lot of other stick and tissue scale model producers I haven't mentioned. Gwillows currently manufactures some very large scale stick and tissue models like this B-29. Gwillows does not advertise them as flying scale models. However, I see YouTube movies of them being converted using modern light motors and batteries. These kits feature a lot of vacuform plastic parts, suggesting Gwillows is following the path other model makers took about 60 years ago. Stick and tissue models remain a fun way to enjoy a scale flying model. Thanks for watching.